Nantucket Pond Coalition update. We have Mr. Bob Williams.
Thank you, Jason. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, great, thank you.
Great. We have nothing but good news to deliver to the select board tonight. A coalition is defined as a temporary alliance for combined action. And we're pleased to have had more alliances this year than we've ever had in our history in the Pond Coalition. For tonight, I have three major updates. The first is in collaboration with Nantucket Land Bank. We have completed the first treatment of Phragmites and Japanese knotweed at Kansu Springs. Eric, if we can put up that first slide. This is the area that we treated. Yeah, there you go, where you see the lines. This is the area where the Phragmites had invested the marsh. And this was we found there was a large meandering creek under there that we didn't know was there, which could be quite beautiful when it's restored, as well as a number of 25-inch wide tree trunks. There must have been a forest there, I guess, at some point. So it was a very difficult day of work. But, we're delighted to have started the first of a 3 to 5 year program down there to restore the marsh. And then, Erica, let's go to the second and third. This is the way it looks now, as you all recall, when you go down Orange Street. And then this is what we think it will look like when we clear. You'll be able to see all the way out to the harbor. And then this second image, I think, is maybe it's Union Street looking at the duck pond, where on the right side, I think the land bank has tried to sort of cut the plants, which is sort of a temporary measure. And then, Erica, the final slide will be what you'll be able to see from Union Street when we're clear. So when the plants are gone, the entire area will be open. Thanks, Erica, that's good on those. The entire area will be open to the wetlands and the harbor. The spraying and the mulching will continue from 3 to 5 years. Clearing the frags is the first step in what could be a major restoration of this area, including dredging the pond and restoring the proper tidal and stormwater flow, and basically reclaiming that marsh. In that the land bank now owns that property, the town used to own it. I know that Jesse Bell, the executive director, will be advocating to the commissioners that they partner with the town in the ecological restoration of the marsh. And I assume the DPW will continue to head up the stormwater and the sewer work. Libby, have I said this right? Do you have any comment on this particular project? I know we've met on it just recently.
Other than thank you very much for your help, Bob, and your very diplomatic and kind way of moving us forward.
Well, you're very thoughtful. I think it's the longest running civic project in the history of the island. So we said to Steve Lecco today, we're going to move it forward now. I think 5 years from now, Libby, it could be one of the most loveliest spots on the island. And I know we're looking forward to that ribbon cutting at the bike path when it happens. The second update is the shoreline restoration of Northern Hummock Pond. This includes the land bank property, Mass Autobahn's Lost Farm property with leadership provided by Sam Kefferston of Autobahn and also funded by abutters, and the treatment of 30 acres of frags along the entire western shore of Nantucket Conservation Foundation's Ram pasture, from the ocean all the way up to Millbrook Road. So our thanks to Cormac Collier and Karen Beatty and his team for their contribution in that regard. In that the plants have encroached up to 30 feet on both sides of what we call the Narrows, we think this could double the Narrows circumference. Let's look at the next image if we can. Erica, this is one of our favorite ones of the Marsh Master. This gives you a sense of the scale of the work. It's very difficult physical work. The conning tower of the Marsh Master is 14 feet high. So these dense plants, this was, I think, a Longtown property at some point, encroaching 30 feet out into the pond, are very difficult physical work. Thanks, Erica. That's good on that photo. So these two heavily trafficked public areas, Lost Farm, Mass Audubon Lost Farm, and Rams Pasture will now have open vistas to each other. You'll be able to see across the pond to both properties, and you'll be able to have access to the pond itself. The Consu Springs and Rams Pasture and Lost Farm alliances complete not only the entire shoreline of Hummock Pond, 170-acre pond, but also the island-wide campaign that we started 7 years ago to clear all the major public ponds of these invasive plants, which took root over 50 years ago. And it has truly been a coalition of efforts that have included the town, who's been in on it from the beginning, CPC, who originally got us started, thanks to them, Matticat Land Trust, Matticat Conservation and Residents Associations, Hummock Pond Association, the Mycomet Conservation League, the Land Bank, Mass Audubon, Nantucket Conservation Foundation, and not to mention the many abutters, joggers, dog walkers, kayakers, paddleboarders, and others who have collaborated with us and helped to support these initiatives. So we're very proud of that campaign, and that campaign, as you know, will continue for another 3 to 5 years across the ponds, particularly at Rams Pasture, Lost Farm, and Consu, which we just started this year. The third and final update for today is the continued progress in thinking through the rationale of dredging Mycomet Pond, the smallest and therefore most affordable great pond on Nantucket. The 2017 federal study made clear that the bulk of excess nutrients leading to harmful algae blooms and excessive plant resides in the sediment already on the bottom of these ponds, and the sediment needs to be removed for the ponds to restore their health. You can put chemicals or herbicides or algicides into the water, and we're thinking about that. Or you can dredge the sediment from the bottom of the pond, really the only long-term solution to turning back the clock on that water body. Now, we all think it would be really nice to have a crystal clear swimming hole at Mycomet Pond. But there's another reason we are interested in this project, and that is we like the idea of recycling nutrients from where they do harm on the bottom of the ponds to where they can do good, specifically in the landscaping business here on Nantucket, which you all know is a big and growing business on the island. We ask ourselves, if we already have too much nitrogen and phosphorus on the island, why are we bringing more in every year? Why don't we just use the nutrients that we already have? Working with Thais Fournier of Natural Resource Department and Emily Molden of the Nantucket Land Council, two of our top water quality experts, we've taken multiple core samples of the sediment of Hummock, Mycomet, and Consu Springs, having it tested for safe use and agricultural friability. Here's an image, Erica, if we've got it, of Emily Molden, I think, or it might be Thais, I forget, working with our limnologist, Dr. Ken Wagner, in the hard physical work of obtaining and cataloging these superficial core samples. This is very tippy canoe type, you got to dig it in 6 feet, you got to pull it out, you got to catalog it, you got to mix it, you got to get it to the lab. It's a lot of work, a lot of physical work, and they did a tremendous job in supporting us in this. Is there another image? Yeah. Okay, so that's Emily Molden along with Dr. Wagner taking the core samples. Thank you, Erica. That's good for that. We think these preliminary studies should precede the town committing substantial resources to permitting and designing a dredging project. Carl Jalame, John Pierce, and Eric Rogers of Toscana are partnering with us to help figure out if we can affordably access and then recycle the sediment nutrients into a long-term sustainable fashion. A surprise to me personally has been the revelation that the pond sand may prove as valuable as the sediment. This could double the inherent value of that asset. The recycling of pond sediment could add substantial ecology, sustainable ecology for Nantucket in the next century. We're also pleased that the high school, working with the Egan Maritime Institute, has approached us and engaged us with the Sea of Opportunities program at the high school that will now focus on ponds and wetlands this fall. The 8th grade debate this year will debate the question, and I think this is really cool, should the residents of Nantucket work to restore the pond and wetland ecosystems to their original state? Now, these youngsters are the ones that are going to reap the benefits of what is being done now. They will be my age in 2070. And I think the island will be a much different place than it is today in 1970. So now is the time to get them involved, get them engaged, and get them thinking about sustaining our island together. In closing, I would like to thank the town, in particular, Libby Gibson and Jeff Carlson, and the Conservation Commission, and all the other conservation organizations, in particular the Nantucket Land Bank, for their help and support of our work over the last 8 years. We look forward to next year. We have a lot of fun doing this. We've learned a lot, and we really appreciate the support of the Select Board in the town. So thank you. And now, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Any questions for Bob? Matt?
Yeah, Bob, when you say you're treating the Phragmites, how is that? How are they treated?
The apex of the plant, the little flower at the top of the plant, is treated with one of two herbicides, either glyphosate or imazaprom. We are currently using imazaprom because there's been some pushback on glyphosate. And that herbicide goes down the stalk mat of the plant into the root ball and basically stops photosynthesis. Okay. And when you look at a big group of frags, you have to recall that that is all one plant. Those aren't individual plants. That's one big plant. So it stops photosynthesis. It stops the plant really from living. And it's the only way to mitigate them, to get rid of them.
Yeah, follow up. So one drop in the head will kill that whole plant? Or do you have, yep, that's it?
Yeah.
How much? Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and you don't have to touch every single stalk mat because all the stalks come down to the same sort of groups of root balls. And from that standpoint, once it gets down into the heart of the plant, you'll affect a lot of the stalks that are around them. So the marsh master drives through the plants on the conning tower so that they're very close to the apex of the plant. They have a wand and they spray that along the apex of the plant, and then the plant absorbs it, kills the plant. And then after the first frost, I always call Phil Bartlett and find out the right weather. We come back, we put a mulcher on the back of the marsh master, and we mulch the stalks into pieces. It doesn't look very pretty, Matt, in the first year. I have to warn everybody that when those stalks come down in November, it'll be open for the first time. But, the land's going to take some time to heal. And then you'll have next summer, new shoots continue to come back up, although there'll be a fraction of what was there originally. And those get sprayed and mulched. And then we do that for 3 to 5 years to really control. Then after that, you begin to think about restoring the landscape. I'm very curious about that creek that runs through there. And I'll be interested to see what the land bank and the town decide to do with the culvert under the bike path, I guess, which will become kind of a bigger box or a bridge or something. And when we were down there doing the work, there's an enormous amount of traffic on that bike path. I had no idea. There were people coming through there every minute. So I think it's a very heavily trafficked area, and I think restoring is a good idea.
Thank you, Bob. Any comments or questions? Christy?
Thank you. Just a comment. This is always one of my favorite updates each year. So I just wanted to thank you, Bob. And I think it's a great way to showcase a public-private partnership. And I just loved this idea of getting involved with Toscana and the landscaping companies. And it's just really showing that when we all put our heads together, we can come up with really creative solutions. So thank you.
Thank you for that. It's going to take a lot of work, and we're not there yet. But I have a lot of faith in Carl and John, and I think if it can be done, we will figure out how to do it and how to do it affordably. We cannot afford to barge spoils off the island. It's just too expensive. Either we can reuse them, or I'm not sure we're going to be able to do them. So, and I think for the kids to debate whether to do it or not is just really cool. I'm so thrilled to be involved in that. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for your comment. I appreciate it.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Bob. We
Thank you,
appreciate all
Jason.
your
My
work.
pleasure.